Discovered after 5 years apart, a millionaire's incredible journey to reclaim his hidden love. Jake Thompson stared out of the sleek glass window of his high-rise office, overlooking San Francisco's vibrant skyline. Launch day for his app loomed just a week away, yet instead of adrenaline pumping through him, hollow unease settled deep in his chest. The world celebrated his achievements, but beneath the polished surface, he felt like a phantom in his own life. 5 years had passed since he lost Mia, the artist who painted vivid dreams into every moment they shared. That loss, stemming from a fight he initiated by chasing ambition blindly, had left scars that no amount of success could heal. As news articles praised his genius, Jake's heart sank at the memory of Mia's laughter morphing into disappointment. Every accolade turned bitter in his mouth like spoiled wine. He was drowning in wealth, yet suffocated by regret. Each deal he signed, every contract he sealed with his team, echoed the dreams they had once built together. A stark reminder of what he'd sacrificed for ambition. Was it worth it? With the stresses of his impending launch like a vice around his chest, Jake decided to escape the office for a few hours. Compelled by a force he couldn't name, he found himself drawn to a quaint art gallery, one that defied the sleek, clinical modernity surrounding him. The gallery hummed with the sounds of cultured chatter, but Jake's focus zoomed in on a familiar figure. Mia stood effortlessly captivating as she discussed her latest collection with admirers. The memories crashed over him, evoking both warmth and anguish. Their gazes locked, igniting emotions he'd buried deeply, leaving his heart racing against the reality of their past. Their reunion was electric yet fragile. Tentative words spilled between them, reminiscent of the rhythm they once had. Yet doubt gnawed at him. Had she moved on? Did she resent him for what he'd become? Questions spiraled relentlessly in his mind, drowning out the art surrounding them. Memories of laughter in the park faded under the weight of their history, morphing into an unbearable ache. Was this fleeting moment worth the risk of reopening old wounds? Just as the tension thickened, his mentor's words echoed in his thoughts, a warning about the delicate balance between work and life. The blend of inspiration and anxiety hung between him and Mia as they reminisced, keeping him torn between two deadly paths. Behind the chase for success, a specter of his past grew larger. His corporate rival was stirring trouble, aiming to destroy everything he had fought to build. A relentless assault that threatened not just his career but also the opportunity to rekindle a love he lost. Memories of their shared dreams mingled with the threats looming ahead, seemingly mocking his every decision. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of impending choices loomed like storms on the horizon. Would he pursue corporate domination, or dare to dive into the unknown, risking his fragile heart for Mia? The air grew thick with uncertainty, every beat of his heart resonating with desperation to reclaim what was once his. In this pivotal moment, as their shared laughter faded into the background of the gallery, Jake faced Mia, the tension hanging heavy. Would he find the courage to bridge the gap between them? Uncertainty cracked like thunder in the silence, leaving their future suspended on a precipice. Jake's heart was a restless tide, swelling with hope and crashing against the rugged shores of doubt. The vibrant art enveloped him, yet the canvas of his life felt graffitied with shadows of regret, the vibrant colors overshadowed by gray. As he studied Mia's face, a mixture of surprise, curiosity, and guardedness, he recognized a reflection of himself in her eyes. A man caught between past loves and present ambitions. "What are you doing here?" she asked, an unexpected softness in her voice that shook him from his reverie. "I needed a break. The launch is next week and it's all-consuming," he stammered, his words tumbling out without direction. "But seeing you, it feels, I don't know, surreal." Mia's brow furrowed as she shifted slightly, a sign of her discomfort echoing the turmoil within him. Surreal can be good or bad, Jake. Are you here to rekindle old flames or just distract yourself from business? Her question, sharp yet laden with concern, challenged him. He could feel every thread of his carefully crafted persona unraveling under the weight of her scrutiny. I've been thinking a lot about us, he admitted, each word faltering under the gravity of his admission. About the choices I made, I miss what we had. A flicker of surprise passed over her features, but it quickly vanished, replaced by something far more resolute. You have to understand, the past can't be rewritten. It's not just about missing what we had, it's about how we got here. He winced at her words. They were shades of a truth he had attempted to bury for years. I know I messed up. I chased after success thinking it was everything, without realizing I lost the meaning in my pursuit. I've been such a fool, Mia. As he spoke, the walls he'd erected around himself began to crack. Confronting these vulnerabilities felt both liberating and terrifying. What if the man he was now was still too far removed from the man he needed to be to win her back? I didn't know you'd been struggling, she said softly, her defenses loosening just a fraction. But Jake, success isn't only measured in numbers or promotions. It's about the connections you're willing to maintain, the people you choose to surround yourself with. Her words rang true, ringing with the clarity of an artist's brushstroke. He had sealed himself away from the vibrancy of relationships in his relentless pursuit. A blinkered chase of every deal and contract on his desk left no room for love, for understanding. Would he dare to change now, to redefine success in a way that included Mia? I want to be better. For you, for me, he declared suddenly, the resolve hardening within him. Do you mean it? Because it takes work, Jake. It's more than just words. Her eyes were searching his, looking for sincerity beyond the flickering shadows of his past mistakes. I'm willing to fight for us, for what we lost, he urged, the weight of possibility igniting a flame within him. I know my company is under attack and I need to tackle that, but what's the point if I do it alone? As he spoke, Jake felt a rush of determination course through him. He recognized a hidden strength stirring, the ability to engage in both his professional storm and to rebuild bridges with Mia. She wasn't just a part of his past, she could be fundamental in crafting his future. Just as Mia opened her mouth to respond, a shadow crossed her face, and Jake's phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. Ignoring it felt impossible, but part of him feared what news awaited on the other end. I need to take this, just please think about what I said, he whispered urgently. As he stepped away, the moment hung heavy between them, a fragile thread of hope in danger of snapping. Beyond the gallery, the world brimmed with chaos as his phone screen blinked. A message from his rival flashed ominously, provoking an urge to dive back into the fray. The tensions of love and ambition beckoned him back to the battlefield he knew all too well. But as he stood on the precipice of his choices, he finally felt the weight he had long ignored. His heart was aching not just for success, but for a connection that transcended the glimmering facade around him. Would he prioritize career dominance, or would he choose to reclaim love amidst the storm? Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself against the inevitable confrontation that loomed ahead. In this moment of reckoning, he opened the message, each word seizing his attention like a tidal wave. The stakes had never been higher. Jake stared at the message, the words blurring as his mind spiraled with possibilities. You've got 1 week to turn things around, or this deal is off. The screen felt like an anvil pressing down on his chest. The urgency of his company's situation collided violently with the softly rekindled emotions stemming from his conversation with Mia. He looked back at her, seeing the hope on the cusp of blooming yet overshadowed by his professional turmoil. What was he to do? He had spent so much time focusing on the insatiable demands of the business world, if only to lose sight of what truly mattered. His heart raced, caught between two debilitating options: compete or connect. The paradox in his life was suffocating. Sorry, it's work, he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Yet, how could he call it work when it had become the crumbling castle of his life, built on sand, devoid of love. Mia's expression hardened slightly, and he regretted not being able to shield her from the turmoil that threatened to obliterate their moment. Jake, if you're going to fight for us, you need to understand something crucial. Both battles require commitment. You can't half-heartedly engage with either, she replied, her voice steady but laced with concern. He knew she was right. With each tick of the clock, his anxiety twisted tighter. Still, the offer to rebuild their connection shimmered just out of reach. He had abandoned vulnerability in favor of ambition, convinced that chasing the corporate ideal would fill his life's void. Yet now, facing Mia, he understood that ambition without emotional depth was a hollow achievement. Then I'll commit, he declared strongly, feeling his choice crystallize amidst uncertainty. I'll figure this out. I just need a moment to recalibrate. Mia's expression softened as she nodded, though Jake could feel her careful regard falter slightly. Would it be enough? He turned again towards the gallery door, the brightness from outside illuminating the worn path ahead. The road of difficult decisions. Stepping through, he hoped to grasp clarity. As he navigated the bustling sidewalk, swirling thoughts danced in his mind. He imagined what Mia might say if he shared his idea, a radical restructuring of his company's direction that would align values over profits. It meant dismantling a view of success he had held unconditionally. It was uncharted territory, but for Mia, it felt like it might be a journey worth pursuing. His phone buzzed again. Another message. Fear seeped in, but there was a different urgency this time. He needed to respond to his rival. The prospect of losing his company felt like a sinking ship, taking everything he held dear with it. Jake, don't do this alone. Bring your team together and share your vision, he imagined Mia would advise, her encouragement a striking rebuke to his history of isolation. Could he take her advice? What if he shared his vulnerabilities instead of hiding them? Suddenly he stopped mid-stride, the world around him blurring. He glanced around him, the gravity of his situation clawing at his resolve. A confrontation loomed, not just with his rival, but with himself. He had to articulate his shift not just to those who worked for him, but also to the parts of himself that had been silenced for too long. What if, with Mia's influence and his newfound clarity, he could salvage not just his business but his relationship too? Determined, Jake started walking again, resolute in his choice. The evening stretched out with palpable tension as he returned to the gallery, intent on merging the threads of his professional life with his personal desires. He found his heart pounding, every step reverberating with uneasiness as he prepared for the conversation ahead. Jake pushed through the gallery's entrance, a wave of possibilities crashing over him. I need to talk to you, Mia, he called out, his voice steady. A resolve had formed inside him, stronger than either his fear or his ambition. But where would this confrontation lead him? The time had come to face not only her but the man he wished to become. Mia turned, her eyes widening in surprise. The concern she wore earlier shifted to curiosity, something more tender lingering just beneath it. Jake, she said softly, taking a step closer. Was she tinged with hope? Or was it fear of what he was about to reveal? He steadied himself, blocking out the chaos of the gallery around them. The abstract art on the walls seemed to pulsate with emotions he could no longer ignore. The scarlet strokes of frustration, the muted blues of loneliness, and the fortitude of yellow that beckoned him forward. Each painting beckoned him to reflect on the life he had carefully curated. I've been thinking, he began, his voice trembling slightly, about what you said earlier. About commitment. Words rushed out, colliding as he fought to articulate the tempest in his mind. I can't keep prioritizing the business, the deals, the profits, over what truly matters. I want to invest in us, in something real. Her brow furrowed, the anticipation thickening between them. What does that mean? You want to change your plan? He took a deep breath, the weight of his decision palpable. Yes. I want to share my vision with my team, and it's about more than just numbers. I want to lead in a way that aligns our mission with core values instead of chasing profit at any cost. Maybe if I do that, it brings back authenticity and connection, both for the business and for us. Mia regarded him carefully, her eyes searching for sincerity within his turbulent resolve. That's a big risk, Jake. What if it doesn't work out? You're risking everything for this new approach. Everything I have now feels empty anyway, he confessed, the truth hanging heavy between them. I've been so focused on building a company to reflect success that I sacrificed what truly mattered in the process. I don't want to create something that falls apart in the end. I want to build a foundation based on integrity and love. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the distant echo of laughter from the gallery's patrons. Jake felt his heart race as he searched Mia's face for a clue about what was next. Would she understand? Could she see the man whom she once knew buried beneath layers of corporate armor now being stripped away? What if I want to help? Mia stepped closer, uncertainty wavering in her eyes. What if I want to be part of this journey? Temptation tugged at him like a fragile string about to snap. Their past flashed before him, shared laughter, whispered dreams. Could she really see a path forward with him? I'd like that, he responded softly, emotion cracking his voice. But I need to focus first. Developing the right approach for the business, rediscovering the values I've let slip away. You're part of that vision, but I can't lead from a place of chaos. He turned away slightly, the enormity of his decision becoming clearer. This wasn't just about restructuring a company. It was about redefining who he was at his core. But I'm scared, he admitted. If I open this door, I can't close it again. What if it leads to failure? Or worse, loss? The strength of their connection hung in the air, vulnerable yet potent. He looked at Mia, wondering if they could both rise from the ashes of the past, not just romantically, but personally and professionally. Jake, she began gently, nothing worth fighting for comes without risk. It's about how willing we are to embrace the discomfort in order to reach our goals. Jake felt his resolve firming. What if this was the moment of transformation? What if, in striving to be vulnerable, he could catalyze change within himself and his company simultaneously? Just then, his phone buzzed again, his rival's name flashing ominously on the screen. Reality encroached at the edges of their shared moment. The world outside would not wait for him to catch up. I need to make this call, he said reluctantly, his heart racing anew. But what happens next? I want us to build a bridge, not a wall. As he walked away, uncertainty coiled tightly around his heart. The moment felt fragile, pregnant with potential, yet marked by an anxious tension. Would he reclaim his business and his love, or would he stand to lose it all? With determination swelling within, Jake turned his back on the distractions and faced the conversation ahead, both with Mia and his rival. The next move would determine his trajectory for years to come. Jake moved to the quieter corner of the gallery. The vibrancy of the art now felt like a dull hum against the rising clamor in his chest. The phone call loomed like black clouds on the horizon. It could storm at any moment. He shifted his focus, battling the thoughts swirling around his mind. As he dialed, lying in wait was not only his rival but the cascading consequences of the life he'd built. "Jake!" Leonard's voice boomed over the line, all affectation and bravado. "It's been a while. Thought you were too busy chasing profits to care about your competitors." "Cut to the chase, Leonard," Jake replied, his tone sharper than he intended. "Why are you calling? Business isn't personal, right? Unless you make it so." Leonard chuckled, the kind of laugh that set Jake's teeth on edge. "I have some information that might be of interest to you, if you're willing to play nice." Jake's fingers tightened around the phone. Leonard knew how to exploit his vulnerabilities. "Don't waste my time." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. You've got your precious company on the line, haven't you? But the way you're heading, that newfound integrity could lead you straight into a brick wall." Jake clenched his jaw, blood rushing as he thought of the path he was trying to forge. "Seems to me you're intimidated by my plan." "Intimidated? Hardly. But profit margins are a cruel lever, my friend. You abandon them and they will surely abandon you." Each word sliced through his thin veneer of confidence, igniting doubts he'd barely considered. As he listened, resentment hardened within. Jake could feel the core of his ambitions being questioned, the foundations of his values disassembled under Leonard's manipulative hand. But instead of crumbling beneath the weight, he began to build his response. Listen closely, Leonard, I'm not playing your games anymore. I'm restructuring my company not as a label you can diminish. You think I fear a dip in profits? I'm cultivating something deeper, something real. Good luck with that, Leonard sneered. I'm running a business, not a therapy session. The call ended with the weight of finality. Jake pocketed his phone, his heart racing, not from fear but from a realization. He needed to distinguish himself from the corporate ruthlessness he had long embraced. This was the moment to determine who he was, not just as a businessman but as a leader who championed values over mere survival tactics. Pushing through the crowd, Jake sought a sanctuary of solitude. The weight of Leonard's words rang hollow now. All they prompted was a kinetic energy sparking within him, a drive to confront the true self he had stifled. He was more than the cold architect of deals. He was evolving into a guide for purpose-driven leadership. Returning to Mia felt essential. He needed her clarity, her insight. As he approached her, the flicker of doubt returned, but he buried it beneath burgeoning determination. Mia, he began, urgency coloring his tone. I have to do this right. She turned, her gaze steady and understanding, offering a balm to his uncertainty. How? It was time for action, not empty promises. By harnessing my fear and using it to reshape our approach, I want our team to thrive. I want us to set a new standard, and I want to create an environment where everyone feels safe to innovate and contribute. He saw the spark of interest ignite in her eyes, prompting him to continue. You spoke about embracing discomfort. I think that's our cornerstone. I'm not just devising strategies, I'm asking my whole team to challenge the norms we've clung to. Are you really ready for that? She asked softly. I am, he affirmed with renewed vigor. What's at stake is greater than money. It's about authenticity. I can't do it without you. Mia's brow unfurled as she absorbed his words, weighing the proposal and the implications. Her silence was both pregnant with possibilities and weighted with tension. As he waited for her response, the air thickened with unspoken decisions. Would she take a chance on him? Would she be willing to invest in the path he dared to lay before them? Both their futures hung precariously on the brink. With palpable tension, they stood on the precipice of change, a bridge waiting to be built. Yet Jake knew they couldn't cross it alone. Mia, he urged, if we truly want to redefine this journey together, we have to stake our claim against all odds. Are you with me? And just as those words left his lips, the atmosphere shifted, electric with potential yet fraught with uncertainty. The stakes were higher than ever, and the next moment would determine not only their professional futures, but would also unveil the courage buried deep within them. Jake now faced an undeniable truth. The stakes of their relationship were intertwining with his plans for the company, and it was time to put everything on the table, risking it all for what truly mattered. Would they choose to fight for it together, or retreat back into their safe confines? Jake felt the weight of Mia's silence pressing on him like a tangible force. The gallery had fallen around them, the laughter and chatter fading into an indistinct backdrop as he awaited her answer. What would it take for her to see the vision he had crafted, a burning resolve to redefine their company and perhaps themselves? Finally, Mia broke the silence, her voice steady but laced with curiosity. If we're going to redefine our journey, we need a plan, a concrete approach. Say the words, Jake. Show me you're committed. In that moment, Jake realized how far he had come. This wasn't just a discussion about profitability. It was about forging a path that embodied authenticity and connection, something far greater than the cold metrics he once prioritized. Right. Here's what I'm thinking. His mind raced, fueled by the urgency to align his thoughts. We start with a town hall, where every employee can express their ideas, not just about making money, but about changing the way we work, fundamentally. They should feel empowered to innovate without fear of failure. Her eyes lit up and he took her slight nod as encouragement to drive deeper. We create small, interdisciplinary teams to tackle specific projects. This way, everyone can collaborate, Share skills and approaches, cultivating a refreshing atmosphere. We need to encourage discussions, even disagreements, to spark creativity. Mia's brow furrowed slightly. It's a radical shift. You know that, right? Are you prepared for the resistance that might come with it? Jake swallowed hard, acknowledging the chilling implications of her question. Resistance could come from top executives clinging to their established roles, or even the employees who feared change. Yes, I am. This discomfort is part of the journey, isn't it? We can't grow without stepping into the unknown. I won't shy away from it anymore. He saw Mia's skepticism recalibrating into contemplation, her gaze drifting toward the bustling gallery again. And what about our personal stake in this? If you're pivoting your career and inviting others to follow this new path, where do I fit in? What if you falter? The weight of her words struck him in a profound way. What if he did stumble? Yet rather than recoiling, his resolve solidified. Then we stumble together. I don't want to do this alone. You were right before. Embracing discomfort is essential. That applies to our relationship too. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's about learning and evolving. Mia studied him for what felt like an eternity, gauging the sincerity in his voice, the spark in his eyes. I want to trust you, Jake. But integrity isn't just a moment. It's consistency over time. Can you show that to everyone here? We will show it together, he replied, the conviction rippling through him. This isn't just about changing corporate culture. It's about us defining who we are as leaders, aligning our values as we navigate the trenches ahead. You've always been a sounding board for me, a voice of reason, and that's invaluable. Her expression softened, but Jake felt a familiar gnawing uncertainty return. Would she ultimately choose to join him on this unpredictable journey? Would they both be able to meld personal aspirations with professional reality? As he scanned the room again, absorbing the fervor of the art-filled environment bathed in commitment to expression, he felt the dawn of a new beginning thrumming beneath the surface. Let's take the first step together, Mia. We can build this space where courage and creativity are encouraged, where we challenge each other every day. Her smile was tentative yet warm, an invitation hanging in the air, but it didn't dispel the thoughts that tumbled in his mind. They would need to face Leonard and his sabotage strategies, prepared to confront the very source of their insecurities. Tomorrow, we act. I'll call a meeting with the team. We can't lose momentum after this. It's all or nothing, he urged, the urgency pulsating in his chest. But what Jake didn't know was that the seeds of his aspirations would draw attention from others lurking in the shadows, ready to play a game where his newfound integrity would be tested in unimaginable ways. The stakes were a whirlwind of innovation, but was he ready to face the consequences that came with it? In that pivotal moment, the gallery around them transformed into both an oasis of hope and a battleground for ambition, setting the stage for an epic confrontational struggle not only for the company, but for their intertwined futures. The next morning dawned with a weight of anticipation. Jake found himself at his desk, long before the office filled with the usual cacophony of voices and footsteps. The stillness allowed him to gather his thoughts, to refine his vision into articulate phrases for the team. Today was his moment, not just to present ideas but to challenge the very framework around which their company operated. Anxiety buzzed beneath his skin. Each second felt heavy with the burden of change. He had not yet faced Leonard since making decisions that could potentially strip him of the familiarity of the past. The thought quickened his pulse. Would Leonard see this as a threat, or an opportunity to belittle his career shift? Jake had to tread carefully. He knew Leonard would not hesitate to play dirty if it served his interests. As employees filtered in, Jake summoned resolve. He greeted each of them, determined to mirror the warmth and openness they needed to feel. Mia arrived last, her expression a tapestry of encouragement and apprehension. They exchanged a brief nod, and she took her seat ready for the storm they were about to unleash. "Good morning, everyone," Jake began, his voice steady yet fortifying against the nerves. "Today I want to talk about redefining how we function as a company, and more importantly, how we function as a team. It's time we open the floor to everyone. Let's start a conversation about innovation, change, and collaboration. A murmur of surprise rippled through the room, halting the languid atmosphere of their routine. Jake pressed on. We're introducing cross-departmental teams, and I want each of you to contribute ideas. Ideas that aren't just about profit margins, but about cultivating creativity in what we do and how we do it. This is about more than business. It's about our culture. A hand shot up. It was Angela from marketing, who had been with the company for years, known for her creativity. Jake, you know this is a big change. I love the idea. But what will happen to our individual roles? Aren't we risking losing direction? Jake sensed the underlying fear in her question, and anxiety he had felt himself. That's a valid point, Angela. We must balance structure and freedom. Each of you will maintain your core responsibilities. However, I urge you to look at these interdisciplinary groups as a chance to break silos, the opportunity to gather insights from different perspectives. After a moment of hesitation, Leonard interjected, his tone condescending. But what if this fails, Jake? Your optimism doesn't translate into results. We have systems that work. Don't you think it's a bit reckless to introduce uncertainty? Every muscle in Jake's body tensed. Leonard was testing his strength, pushing him to falter. Change is uncertain, Leonard, and I understand the risks. But remaining stagnant is the real threat. We'll face challenges together. This is about evolving, not collapsing. I promise that I'm committed to making this work, and I need you all to be committed too. Mia's gaze anchored him, a beacon of support amidst the brewing tension. Several nods of agreement spread through the room, urging him to press forward. As the meeting progressed, they collectively exchanged thoughts, igniting conversations that brimmed with potential. Ideas flowed, battles brewed, and for the first time in years, Jake felt alive. Afterward, as employees departed, Jake stayed behind, taking a moment to digest the energy of the room. But beneath the exhilaration lay threads of doubt. Leonard's words echoed ominously in his mind like an impending storm. This path forward was riddled with uncertainty, and the path would only become more convoluted as they thrived. Jake, Mia's voice broke through his contemplation. You stood firm. That was bold. Bold but naive, he countered, rubbing the back of his neck, unsure whether he had indeed done enough. What if Leonard finds a way to derail this before it even takes off? Mia stepped closer, her eyes narrowing in thought. You have to trust the team you rallied today. Your vision is infectious, but you need to be ready for the pushback no matter how it comes. Jake's heart raced at the prospect of the battle ahead. Could he truly stand resilient against the forces that would rise to cover the light he was trying to shine? As they exited the building, his thoughts wrestled with impending confrontations, but also the emergence of clarity within himself. Their future lay on the precipice of battle, and the stakes were higher than he'd anticipated. I know we're in for a fight, Mia, but it feels necessary, ready to take those next steps with me. The time had come to face the biggest challenge yet. Unbeknownst to him as they posed this question, shadows stirred, orbiting their ambitions, waiting for the right moment to strike. Would his resolve hold firm when tested, or would that very ambition lead to his undoing? In the days that followed, Jake immersed himself in the whirlwind of ideas and feedback generated from the meeting. It was refreshing, invigorating even, yet the specter of Leonard loomed over every innovative thought. With each brainstorm session, Jake felt the rhythm of creativity from his team. Ideas bounced back and forth across makeshift desks, laughter and chatter weaving an invisible thread of renewed energy. Yet it was within these moments of triumph that shadows began to creep in. Leonard was silent, but Jake could almost hear the wheels turning. During long nights as he mulled over the ambitious plans he had set into motion, doubt crept in, flipping through every imaginary scenario where Leonard undermined him, swung his influence, and dismantled the progress they had made. The need to be vigilant clawed at him. Leonard, with his calculated maneuvers, wouldn't descend quietly, and Jake now had the heartfelt responsibility of every single team member who dared to believe in him. Mia continued to be his anchor. With her steadfast support, smiles that lit the darkness, and strategic discussions that carved pathways around obstacles, Jake fortified his resolve. We need to prepare for the unexpected, she said one afternoon, a view of the city skyline stretching out behind her. Leonard will make his move. You need a contingency plan. Jake's mind whirled with possibilities. What if he used Leonard's air of authority against him? If he played to Leonard's ego, maybe he could manipulate conversations in a way that kept his own vision thriving. This wasn't about underhanded tactics. It was about survival to ensure their new culture took root and flourished. He began to think differently, not from a defensive position, but as a strategist. Tracking Leonard's movements became a secondary task. Jake found himself instinctively aware of Leonard's schedule, whether in passing idle conversations or through gossip. He noticed how every nod from the executive team seemed to carry an unspoken allegiance to Leonard. This realization stung, a reminder that so much of this battle was psychological. In meetings, Jake began to assert his presence even further. Instead of shying away from conversations with other senior executives, he engaged them in discussions about their department's input into the new cross-departmental structure. He began to plant seeds of doubt about Leonard's rigid methodologies, gently steering conversations that celebrated flexibility and collaboration as the company's future. And yet, moments of fragility surfaced unexpectedly. When he caught a glimpse of the weariness in Mia's eyes after long brainstorming sessions, or the reluctant silence from Angela, now hesitant to contribute. He was pushing boundaries, but at what cost? What if his ambition, unsynced with the team's feelings, led to discontent? The challenge evolved from just facing Leonard to ensuring his team felt empowered alongside him. During a pivotal meeting with higher-ups, Jake laid out proposals that branched off into radical territory, initiatives that demanded the dismantling of traditional hierarchies within the organization. He could feel Leonard's palpable tension, a tightening grip on power he wasn't willing to relinquish. It ignited something within him, a relentless pursuit of innovation that had begun to take root in him, no longer merely a response to fear. Afterward, back in his office, Jake stared at the city sprawled outside his window. The glittering lights felt like possibilities awaiting discovery. He had moved from just survival to asserting himself as a leader, arguably a more difficult position to navigate. He had given his team a voice but wondered how it all factored into his relationship with them. Would they trust him enough to carry this ambition further? Jake, Mia's voice cut in, breaking the weight of contemplation. You are changing the game, but we need to ensure it's not just about the ideas. We need to bring everyone along. It struck him then, a truth he hadn't fully embraced. This journey wasn't merely about him ascending or breaking away from Leonard's influence. It was a collective evolution. Could he balance the nuances of leadership and friendship? Could he inspire without inciting fear? As her words echoed, he pondered if the real danger emerged from within rather than the tumult of external conflict. Determined not to lose sight of the human element, he vowed to invest more in personal connections with each team member, addressing fears and anxieties head-on. This time it wouldn't be a one-way conversation. They would forge this path together or not at all. The stakes were ever rising, and as whispers of Leonard's plans seeped through the cracks of their expanding network, Jake wondered whether the excitement they built would withstand the pressure. The reality dawned upon him, an undeniable truth. Every step forward escalated the tension, and he needed to confront not just Leonard, but also his own growing ambitions. Let's prepare for the next confrontation, Mia, he said earnestly with a tightened jaw. I won't just fight for this vision. I'll fight to keep my team united. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the moment Leonard decided to retaliate would be the moment when everything would hang in the balance, watched closely by eyes illuminated by ambition and fear. How far could he push before everything started to crumble? Jake woke up earlier than usual, the dawn casting soft shadows across his office. The quietness heightened his senses, a stark contrast to the usual frenetic pace of the workplace. As he combed through his schedule for the day, thoughts of Leonard curled at the edges of his mind like smoke, persistent and unnerving. He had always prided himself on his ability to strategize, but today felt different. The stakes felt higher than a mere corporate battle for ideas. It was about ownership of a new way of thinking within the walls of a company that had grown fat on tradition. He wondered yet again if he was truly prepared to lead his team through the fires that Leonard may unleash. During a quick morning meeting, Jake sensed the energy had shifted. His team was weary, exhaustion painting their features, long nights and constant uncertainty gnawed at their spirits. With every idea they tossed into the air, he could feel it, an undercurrent of doubt. Would they really follow him into this uncharted territory? Or were they merely waiting for the inevitable storm? "Jake, can we talk for a minute?" Angela's voice broke through his train of thought. Her brows were furrowed, worry etched across her face. "Of course," he replied, following her to a quieter corner of the office. "Look, I appreciate everything you're doing, but I'm scared," she admitted, her honesty both refreshing and alarming. "It feels like we're moving in this fast-paced whirlwind, and I'm not sure we're all on the same page." Her vulnerability struck a chord. It was a reflection of his own feelings, but felt amplified in her confession. "I get it," he said gently. "This is uncharted territory for all of us. But we can't shy away from this. We need to adapt and forge ahead together." The conversation lingered in his mind long after Angela left. He thought about the burdens he had shouldered for his team, trying to be their beacon. Yet, as he sought to galvanize their potential, he realized he was also instilling fear. Fear of failure. Fear of conflict. Was he pushing too hard? He had to find a way to blend his ambitious vision with the emotional needs of his team. Jake's mind raced to Mia. Wasn't she the one who understood the human side of leadership intimately? They met after hours at a favorite coffee shop, a vibrant spot filled with the comforting hum of conversations and the rich scent of roasted beans. "Mia," he began, the weight settling in his chest. "I spoke with Angela today. She's scared, and I think our team is feeling the pressure. We're pushing boundaries, and while I believe in this new direction, I fear it's costing us something vital." Mia nodded thoughtfully, her expression firm. "Fear can paralyze, Jake, but it can also galvanize. If we want to lead through this, we have to ensure everyone understands our purpose. It's not just about the what, it's about the why." His heart raced at her insight. "You're right. I've been caught up in the mechanics, the strategy. But to truly unify the team, we have to communicate the vision in a way that resonates with their aspirations and fears." Jake left the coffee shop invigorated. He decided to schedule a team meeting not just to share strategies but to listen. He would open the floor for everyone to express their concerns, their dreams, their reservations. As he prepared for the meeting, a nagging thought broke through the haze of adrenaline. What if Leonard had already begun to counter his rising influence within the organization? Would these changes come too late to stave off retaliation? The next day, as he entered the conference room, Jake felt the weight of the moment pressing down. This was more than just a meeting. It was an opportunity to reconnect with his team and clarify their shared vision. He opened with honesty. "I know we've been moving quickly and it's easy to feel lost. I want to hear from you. What concerns you? What excites you?" As voices lifted and hesitations transformed into words, he realized this was exactly what he needed. They were, after all, in this together. But in the back of his mind lay nagging doubts about Leonard, an unsettling feeling that he was still hiding somewhere, waiting to strike. That thought pressed at his mind heavily, the knowledge of conflict looming on the horizon. As he left the meeting, Jake couldn't shake the unease fluttering in his stomach. How crucial was this moment that he had seized, and would it deflect the inevitable storm, or merely stoke its fires? He had invited his team to share their burdens, yet he realized he had to prepare for Leonard's next move. The balance between collaboration and confrontation hung by a thread, and he felt it fraying with every passing moment. What would Leonard do next? The thought tormented him, but it sparked something else: resolve. He had awakened a collective spirit within his team, but now they needed a plan to protect that spirit. "Here we go," he muttered under his breath as he returned to his office, the ever-watchful specter of Leonard looming large in the back of his mind. Would they be ready to weather the storm together? Weeks passed, and the tenuous atmosphere in the office oscillated between creativity and tension. Jake had embraced an invigorated purpose, earning the respect and enthusiasm of his team as they pushed toward a shared vision of redefining their company's culture. Yet, beneath the surface, the specter of Leonard remained, a looming threat that stirred a disquieting blend of anxiety and anticipation in Jake. His resolve solidified as he committed to building a foundation that placed authenticity at its core. He believed that in emphasizing collaboration and open communication, they could develop an agile workforce ready to face any competition, especially Leonard's relentless pursuit. In meetings, Jake cultivated a culture of innovation, each idea welcomed and celebrated, each voice amplified and honored. Yet the darker undercurrent of impending conflict uneasily coexisted with their growing momentum. One fateful afternoon, Leonard unleashed his attack. A mass email blasted through the office, declaring the launch of a competing product that threatened to undermine everything Jake and his team had been working towards. It was slick, polished, and tainted with the insidious allure of disdain. Leonard cunningly framed it as a new beginning, just as Jake had, but one that reinforced the traditional paradigms Jake had been striving to dismantle. The email's effects were immediate. Panic washed over the office, anxiety coursing through every conversation. Jake felt the air thicken, the weight of eyes on him, punctuated by murmurs of doubt. Were they again on the precipice of failure, tethered to old beliefs? Before the tension could spiral, Jake knew he had to rally his team, to reinforce the principles he had begun instilling in them. Gathering everyone for an impromptu meeting, Jake stood determined, redirecting apprehension into empowerment. "I can't deny that this news is unsettling," he began, scanning the faces that had become increasingly familiar. "But I need you to understand. Leonard's tactics are nothing but a distraction. We've laid the groundwork for something greater. Our culture, our values, and our innovative spirit cannot be dismantled by one competitor's empty bravado." The room filled with murmurs of agreement, buoying his confidence. "We don't need to mimic Leonard's approach to find success. Our strength lies in our authenticity and the creative solutions we embrace together. I need each of you to trust that we can build something far richer than his hollow threats." A flame ignited within the room as collective resolve replaced trepidation. Ideas began to flow, each team member resonating with renewed determination. With a burgeoning sense of unity, they transformed dismay into a rallying cry for innovation, urgency, and creative collaboration. It became evident that the heart of their company flourished in a world of open communication, integrating their diverse perspectives into a powerful arsenal of ingenuity. As their strategic plan solidified, Jake turned to face a different challenge. The balance between nurturing internal cohesion and preparing for war against Leonard's relentless ambushes required airtight focus. Mia stood by his side, her unwavering encouragement grounding him amidst the chaos. "Now is the time for partnership," Jake urged, meeting her gaze reassurance. "We must show that we're not just surviving, we're thriving. Let's consolidate our vision and embrace every challenge that comes our way." With solid plans in place, each team member felt embraced and valued. Even as Leonard's confrontational tactics loomed large, Jake felt bolstered, standing shoulder to shoulder with a crew infused with purpose. What had begun as a bleak landscape turned into a vibrant, competitive fire, brimming with ambition and resilience. Eventually, Jake's efforts bore fruit. Amidst the growing anticipation of the launch of their new initiative, whispers of admiration echoed through their circles. Their product became a beacon, an embodiment of the values they had strived to nourish. Jake had cut through the fear that surrounded him, demonstrating that true leadership thrived on vulnerable connections. On launch day, amid the chaos of deadlines and last-minute adjustments, Jake gazed at the bustling office with pride. The laughter that sounded off the walls reflected the confidence the team had cultivated together. They had faced Leonard's aggression not as individuals but as a unified force unwilling to yield. Mia stepped beside him and he could see the admiration mirrored in her eyes. "You've done it, Jake. You've reclaimed the heart of this company," she declared, her voice resonating with authenticity. "You nurtured both the business and your relationship with each team member." He smiled, surveying the room, recognition settling in. Success wasn't merely measured in profits or transactions, but in healing and forging connections with those he'd pulled together. No longer was he just an ambitious entrepreneur. He had evolved into a compassionate leader who had learned to balance his aspirations with the very essence of emotional understanding. Finally, they gathered as a team, ready to unveil their creation. As applause erupted, Jake felt a surge of fulfillment cascade over him. They had achieved a victory that transcended the constraints of any singular conflict. It wasn't merely about reclaiming his business. It was about restoring the essence of love that thrived within him, ready to embrace the myriad complexities of relationships, ambitions, and dreams. As he looked at Mia, he recognized that the fortitude and resolve forged in adversity only solidified their connection. Uncertainty may still linger in the air, but together, they could weather any storm. Jake Thompson had journeyed beyond ambition into fulfillment, emerging stronger than before. Now, with a fortified culture of innovation at his back, he prepared to reclaim his rightful place not just in business, but in love, navigating his life with renewed clarity, confidence, and passion. Get ready to move forward with your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. You need to show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Engage with us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.